So I'd like to welcome everybody to episode number 2 of Between Two Rods, and I'm excited today to have a good friend join me, and we're going to get into some shenanigans here in a little bit and talk about some stuff, and hopefully not end up in divorce with both of our wives, which is a distinct possibility, but we're going to try to avoid that. I'm Aaron Rich. I'm the host of Between Two Rods, and I'd like to start by thanking our sponsor, BassTackleSupply.com. And, BassTackleSupply.com has a wide range of freshwater fishing supplies. They did provide us with a 10% off coupon code if anybody at home would like to use it. It's Two Rods, TWORODS. Use that at checkout, get 10% off. So we also have a whiskey that we drink every week. And this particular one's a special one, man. So we got a toast that's kind of meaningful today. We had one of my neighbors get killed the other night. And the guy is a great dude, used to love drinking whiskey and all that, has 2 young kids, man, and it's a sad event, but we're toasting the Russell's Reserve 15 today, man, and this is a really great whiskey. And one thing I'd like to mention is we're going to put a link in our bio. They have a GoFundMe page for that family, and if anybody would consider donating to that family, man, it'd be a big help to them. Mom and 2 kids, man, it's a rough situation, but, we're going to do what we can to help that family out. So anyways, let's put one back. This is for Josh.
Josh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's good stuff, man.
That's good stuff. That's excellent stuff right there.
So I'd like to introduce my guest today, Ryan Lassiter, man. We go way back, dude.
I think we go back to your first ever fishing trip.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You remember the anger I used to have fishing?
I do. I'm not sure it's just about fishing, but yes,
well,
I'm familiar.
Yeah. You start with the fishing, and then all of the anger that comes out is all the other stuff in life. But I've learned to internalize a lot of that a little better now. So
just keep it all inside. Don't let any of it out. Just bottle it all up.
My therapist says to just bury those feelings down deep and just let them fester.
Deep down.
Yeah, she's a great therapist.
I got to go back to that first fishing trip because I have a little scene, almost like a little video, a little vignette that plays from that fishing trip for me a lot when I think about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about being on a boat with another grown man and you have to spread your legs so the grown man can access the live well beneath you to look at the warmouth he's caught 15 times throughout the trip. That's his...
I was pretty excited about that.
I relive that moment often.
Good times. Well, I'm glad to have you join me today, man. So we're gonna talk about some stories, man. You and I got some pretty fun stuff that I think we can get into, and it's we've gone fishing a bunch of times, and I think we got a lot ahead of us too, man. So hopefully there's lots of memories ahead that we can enjoy too. And that kind of gets us into the topic today, man. I wanted to talk to you about when we've done different kinds of trips, man. We've done different things. Do you feel like it's more about the fishing, or do you feel like it's more about just all the other crap we get into,
I'll tell you,
man?
Personally, for me, it's never been, unless I'm on tournament mode, right? That's a different kind of a thing, being in tournament mode, right? That's the competitive nature. If I'm just going fishing, it's not about the fish, man. It's about nature. It's about hanging out with a friend. It's about just shedding life for a couple of hours to just exist.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. There's no worries. I'm not thinking about what I got to do next. I'm just there in the moment, having a good time. And if you get some fish, man, bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you spill chocolate milk all over somebody's boat.
I don't know what you're talking about or referring to.
The damn boat smelled for weeks, man.
I'm banned from a few things on your boat, and chocolate milk one of them.
Yeah, I mean when we've gone, man, I feel like we've done good fishing too. But the memories that I always remember is just the crazy dumb shit we get into all the time, man.
Hey, listen, for anybody out there that's going to go fishing with Aaron soon, if he's driving the boat and the boat's not where you want it, if you don't start your sentence with "Hey asshole, move the boat," he's not.
I'm definitely not going to listen.
Yeah,
it's true, man. So what memories stand out to you, man? I mean, what sticks in there?
Like fishing in general, or you and me fishing?
Well, you and me, man. Yeah.
Well, listen,
yeah.
I got to be honest.
Or you, whichever.
Your whole fishing story it kind of crosses in my life from the time you and I met. And so like I can go back to the Warmouth story in that live well, and I can take a step forward in time and remember your first boat. I can remember passing your first boat at 1 billion miles an hour on Lake Wimico. I was fishing a tournament with my dad.
your
You were
dad,
out
yeah.
pre-fishing or something, and we just blew by you. And I remember you just watching us, as we went by. It wasn't 2 weeks a month. Aaron had a new boat, newer boat at least, and
Went through a couple versions.
you had to play catch up a little bit. You did though very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not miss your dad waxing my ass every time, man. I haven't had him wax my ass in quite some time, but I don't miss that. So, yeah.
No, it's not fun.
He'll let you know about it too, man.
He will. Every once in a while he'll go, "Hey, cast over there," and you'll catch a fish, and he'll just you owe him one now.
Yep. Good stuff, man. Yeah, I think one of my favorite memories is my 40th birthday when we went to Venice. We talked about Venice on the last podcast a little bit, but that was a hell of a night, man.
It really was, and I still don't understand that cow, but
yeah, I don't even know where the damn cow came from, and I don't know why I chased the cow down the road. That didn't make any sense in retrospect. But
where had we been before?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was what 2:30, 3 in the morning.
It was 2:30 there.
Yeah.
It was your birthday. You were enjoying
old den lounge, baby.
Enjoying the den. The den's an interesting place.
Oh, it is.
It's a good time.
Man, if you y'all out there, if you go to Venice, Louisiana, you have to check out the Den Lounge and tell them Ryan sent you.
And you can't just go and say I've been here. You've got to go and like spend some time and hang out and watch the evening evolve around you.
Get to know people,
man.
It's
a life experience.
It's a contact buzz. It's you're drinking Irish car bombs, man. Whatever.
It's a little bit of a contact sport in there too.
It is. It is. Yeah. Things got crazy. I made some friends. Oh, that's a good time. Remember the captain the next day, man? So we went to the Den Lounge, and then the next morning we did the inshore with the guy who cussed us out constantly.
Yes.
And you remember how he was adamant he was never setting foot in the Den Lounge, right? He knew what it was about.
Look, you start talking about the boat, and I will never in my entire life get past the deckhand that we had on that boat.
Oh, that was on the deep sea day.
Yeah, and
Travis, was it Travis?
I can't remember. What I remember is his story about tomahawking somebody's car, him literally throwing 20s and 100s into the water as the boat's at full speed.
Yeah. Can you describe that? Because I feel like when I tell that story, people think I'm lying. But I mean, you and I were standing right there next to each other watching this happen. But that's a great story.
Look, we got on this boat, and the captain looks at us and says, "You guys got a music preference?" And we mean this honestly when we say it. Like, we'll listen to whatever.
Whatever.
I wasn't expecting full bore gangster rap, dirty club,
2 a.m.
gangster rap, 2 a.m. hip hop, like just stuff you're never gonna hear on a radio station anywhere ever at full blast.
So we did hear that at the Den Lounge, coincidentally.
Later that evening, yes.
Yeah.
and this boat's big, four outboards cruising as fast as it can go, and we're all hanging out towards the back of this boat as it's cutting waves out towards the rigs. And the deckhand is there, and he's got on this baggy set of jeans for a really thin guy. At some point, he decides there's too much stuff in his pockets, and he pulls out a wad of what I can only assume is a whole season's worth of just straight tips, and sticks it under the dash. And then before he puts the other one up, the music's bumping, he's getting into it, and he's like, yeah. And he shows us his pistol, and then he starts.
I remember him waving the gun,
around,
and the music was going money,
and he's
money,
pumping,
money,
he's
money.
pumping with it, and then the roll of money comes, and I'm just watching bills, and I'm looking at his hand. I can see it. He's right here in my face, and it's 20, 100, just gone.
I remember looking at you going, "Hey man, that's fake money, right?" And you go, "No, dude,
no." It's great, and there was this really weird vibe between the captain and him. It's like the captain understand, hey, here's a guy who's got deckhand experience. He's going to do great on my boat, and also don't piss him off, please.
Do you remember the look he gave that guy when he was flipping the money over the boat? And I mean, the boat's going 30 some miles an hour at this point, and that money's just flying off the back of the boat. Do you remember the look he gave him? He went like that and just turned his head back and shook his head, man.
No,
like,
you
that's
know,
not the first
do you
time
want to
that's
know
happened,
the look
man.
I got? You know, the look I remember? I've seen his pistol. I've seen his tomahawk. I've heard about him tomahawking people's vehicles. I've watched him throw money into the ocean. We've been talked about figuring out who's a cop on the boat, if there's some stuff floating out there.
Yeah.
He reaches into the ice chest, which is up near us, big, built into the front of this boat, ice chest, right? And he's pulling out some frozen cigar minnows. We're running low on bait. We're going to troll a little bit. He's getting these cigar minnows out. And I'm holding the lid to this thing. And he's like, hold that for me. I'm holding it. And he goes to throw the rest of the bag of these cigar minnows back in the ice chest. And I lose my grip on the wet, slippery handle of it. Lid closes, fish all over the deck. And he just looks at me, clean that up. And he goes to the back of the boat. I immediately am like, where's a rag? And I'm like cleaning up, dunk it overboard,
You want to make Travis
clean
mad,
it up.
man.
A few minutes later, he comes back, and I'm watching him, right? He looks at me and he goes, good job.
Yes, sir.
Was not going to screw that up.
No, dude, from the very beginning of that trip, I knew something was off about him, right? And I think by the end of the trip, none of us wanted to piss him off because we knew that the consequences might be that we'd end up in a Venice swamp somewhere.
No, the man knew his stuff. Like, he knew what he was doing. He was
good,
no
man.
slouch, but
I was very polite to him the whole time. So, yeah, man, that was a great time. So, yeah. Oh, my goodness, man. All right, man, I'd like to take just a second, thank our sponsor, BassTackleSupply.com. BassTackleSupply.com has a ton of this Zoom product, and, this is something that you and I have used a lot of different places, man. These
Very
Zoom
flexible
ultra
bait,
vibe
yep.
worms. They're great, man. They got the little cut tail on them. You can use these in about any body of water and catch fish, man. These Zoom U-Vibes, man, they are dynamite. Very, very universal for whatever body of water you're on. Bass Tackle Supply has that. And again, the Bass Tackle Supply discount for our show is 2RODS, TWORODS, for 10% off. So I'd like to thank them again for sponsoring us. Ryan, we've talked about different things we want to do, man. Is there some kind of dream trip that you really, something that you've thought about doing that you just not done, but it's on your bucket list, man? Is there something that stands out?
I got a couple things, and we've probably talked about a few of them. I would, I missed out on the opportunity to go noodling, and that's still on my list, but it's not as high as you might think it is. I want to go Oklahoma. I want to get into a huge paddlefish out there. I want to go. Yeah. I want to go down north of Yucatan out there. I want to get on some big rooster fish out there.
Oh, yeah, man.
There's a lot of really cool kind of niche trips that you could do to do stuff like that. And look, I'm not afraid to go ski behind a boat with a baseball bat and get some of these Asian
Hell
carp,
yeah, man.
Let's go.
Joe and I have talked about that.
If they'll let me take the ninja sword, I'll take the ninja sword. Let's
go. A little
go.
fruit ninja on a carp, that'd be awesome.
I mean, what could go wrong?
So they have a contest in Chicago, and I think it's like beginning of August, where you actually you ski behind the boat and you catch the net and all that, but it's a competition that they have that way. And we've talked about that being a crazy idea of what we want to do, but yeah, I feel like I got to learn how to ski, but that is definitely something I want to try and do. So that's a hell of a trip, man. So.
I think it would be fun for all kind of a trip too. You could just there's no way that doesn't turn into the best kind of possible disaster.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I mean, it could turn into catastrophe. But that's just part of the adventure, man. That's how I see it.
If something doesn't go horribly wrong somewhere along the way, are you even having fun?
Yeah, for sure. It was funny. So we took my kids yesterday and some friends. We all went putt-putt. And I literally said to my friend, I said, man, at least we've gotten to this point in the day and nobody's gotten hurt. And within 2 fucking minutes, my kid got hit in the head with a golf club. Because that's just how it goes, man.
It is, and you jinxed yourself. You can't.
Yeah, you can't. You can't say anything. You just got to let the shit happen.
And kids are always going to be a magnet for that kind of stuff, man. It's crazy. But I'll circle back a little bit because you talk about the things I want to do, and I'm getting to the point now where a lot of the cool stuff I want to do is now circling in the kids, right? It's okay. They're getting old and they're starting to get there. They're getting old enough where they're going to enjoy that memory, right? They can. Some of this stuff is big boy stuff, right? This is not like take your kids on a trip stuff.
They're gonna love the den
but
lounge.
they're getting close.
Yeah.
They're getting close, and I'm looking forward to that because we're not but a few more years away.
Yeah, man, we've gone on a bunch of trips where we run into people, we meet people on these trips, and the common thing is it's like fathers and sons or like best friends that have like done things, and to me that's awesome to think about taking your kids and doing those kind of lifetime experiences with it. Although it would be probably a different experience than you and I going somewhere.
It'd be a little different.
Yeah,
be a little different.
It would a more wholesome experience, right? But that to me seems like a really cool thing to think about taking your kids on something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm kicking it back to you. What about you though? What about your fishing bucket list? What's on your list you haven't talked about or brought up yet?
I got so much stuff that I still want to do, and we've been fortunate. We've done a whole bunch of cool things. We've been to Alaska. We've done the hillbilly hand fishing. We got to go to Brazil this year, which was pretty badass. But one of them that I just I like getting away from things, man. I like getting away from computers and disconnecting. I want to go to Canada and do a fly fishing trip out in the middle of nothing, man.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, and I just I think if you go for a week and disconnect and you catch some fish, it's cool, and otherwise you're just out there in the middle of nothing.
I'm gonna work on my fly.
Yeah. So many people that fly fish, man. Yeah. So I feel, and this is probably from my last trip to Venice, I garnered some of this opinion, but I feel like fly fishermen feel that they are on the higher level of pantheon of fishermen, right? And it's one of those things that if you fly fish, it almost feels like sometimes you get looked down on if you don't fly fish, right? And it's just funny to me how the attitudes are with different styles of fishing, and some feel that they're more sophisticated than others, right?
Well, look, and I'll tell you, I have experienced that a lot my whole life. My dad, even to this day, doesn't like the big bass boats so much. And so I grew up fishing the big bass tournaments in a little stick steer 40-horse bass boat. Yeah. Won some tournaments, was competitive in a lot of tournaments.
Still get you the same spots.
Still get you the same spot. But listen, there's nothing like pulling up to the ramp to drop that little stick steer in the water next to all these $100,000 boats, right? It's a whole different experience. People start looking at you and checking you out a little different, and it's no different with the fly fishermen, man. They're looking at you a little sideways.
They've had a lot of like the professional bass fishermen that have even switched to doing some aluminum boats lately, man. And some of it is they can get in bodies of water that back in little creeks and stuff like that some of the bigger boats can't get into. So sometimes the smaller boat actually has an advantage. I know there's a place on the river I like to go to. And the only way to get a boat in there is if you got something small that's maybe like 14, 15 feet. And if you got something small, you can get in there. But, man, if you got a 21-foot boat, there's no way you're getting in that spot.
No, it's the whole reason I've got a little 17-foot aluminum whole bass tracker. And it's the whole reason I got that boat. It's got a little 50-horse on it, but in the mill pond up where I live, like you don't want to drive fiberglass in there. I mean, there's every stump you can possibly imagine all over that lake. And unless you know it real well, it's bad times. Wouldn't go anywhere without it.
Yeah, for sure. We were supposed to go do a bow fishing tournament there one time, right?
The crossing of various responsibilities kind of cut that out. I even invested in a bow and had some LED lights ready to go.
Yeah, me too. And I've never used it.
Life kind of came at us a little bit.
Well, we got to make that happen, man.
Listen, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm practiced up.
Yep. Awesome, man. Yeah, I think that, and you mentioned roosterfish, and Costa Rica is a place that I've really thought about too. And there's so many awesome species to fish for in Costa Rica, and from everything I've heard, it's really incredible down there. And I think that's definitely something that is on the list. Catching roosterfish to me seems badass because that tail, the fin coming out of the water and just screaming around, and they're super strong.
They're crazy looking fish. They're crazy fighting fish, and they're difficult to catch in the first place. So it's a bucket list fish in its own right. So it makes for a good trip. And then the locale is important too, because you put that on top of the experience and the chase of the fish, and you get, that's where the whole experience comes from.
Yeah, for sure, man. When we went to Brazil, I was I think that the fishing was off the charts good, but being able to experience the countries that you get to go to and the way that people live and kind of understanding it, man, I feel like it's taught me a greater appreciation of things that we have in our lives here in the US.
And
You
you
know.
learn a lot about not just the obvious things, right? The culture, differences in income and monetary value for things, not just those obvious things, but you learn a lot about fishing that you didn't know from people that have grown up doing it differently. So you get
Yeah.
around those people and the tips and the tricks that nobody around here uses, nobody around here knows, that just somebody from somewhere else is like, oh no, do this.
Yeah.
Or even if it's just a weird way to open a beer, but you learn stuff.
Well, and so much of fishing, even though I might have a bass fishing technique, that doesn't mean that it won't work in other applications, man. And if I know so many diverse things about different styles of fishing, I've applied skills from this type of fishing over onto another type, and it works, man. You understand fishing and what you do in the circumstance and the environment you're fishing in, and you can really tailor that to,
I
what
will
you're
I
doing.
will tell you that jumping into surf fishing the last couple of years, I didn't expect as much carryover from all the bass fishing I've done over the years as there was, but it's this weird crossover between something akin to fishing for catfish, bottom fishing,
Mm-hmm.
and bass fishing and the surf, depending on how you're throwing your bait and stuff. And so it was a really easy transition for me to apply some of the knowledge about the way fish behave
Mm-hmm.
and structure and patterns on the bottom and those sorts of things into surf fishing. And it clicked for me.
Very cool. Nice.
Mhm.
Awesome. You with the surf fishing that you do, man, do you feel like there's a difference between how you're catching there, so much more than like the inshore stuff, or is it real similar to how you approach
Well,
inshore?
no, and part of it depends on what my goal was that day. If I'm taking the whole family to the beach, probably my goal that day is going to be to put out 2 or 3 rods on the bottom with something like a pompano rig,
Mm-hmm.
where they're just kind of sitting. Right, I'm not actively fishing, but I'm watching my baits. I'm watching for movement. I am looking for fish moving through, but I'm still hanging out with the family and playing with the kids at the beach and just keeping an eye on the rods. If I'm going by myself, I'm probably taking a couple of big surf rods for that same setup,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also throwing, a topwater or a popper
Yeah,
or
casting out there.
something in the surf, looking for fish moving through. So it kind of depends.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy the way surf fishing lends itself to just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's a much more passive kind of experience where you can just chill at the beach and enjoy
Yeah.
the beach.
No, that's nice.
Mm.
Yep. Well, good, man.
Mm.
Good. Glad you're enjoying that. And I'm sure the kids, that's stuff they can kind of get into too, because once the rods start bowing over, man, you just get out there and start cranking on it.
It's
So,
who's next to reel in a fish, and you go run grab the rod and.
yep.
Mm.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I hope we get to go again soon. So
Very soon.
I appreciate you coming on the show today. We'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up today, man. But I think you and I have had a lot of great fishing experiences over the years, man.
There's
Hopefully,
a lot more stories in there.
hopefully the stories are just beginning, man. And that's the thing, is every single one of these trips and things that we get to do, the thing comes out of it is lifetime stories, man. And that's why we do what we do. And it's a lot to look forward to. Like to thank you for coming today. Again, like to thank our sponsor, BassTackleSupply.com. They got a wide variety of freshwater products out there. Again, the 10% off coupon code is 2rods, TWORODS. And I'd like to thank you for tuning into another episode of Between Two Rods, and hope you tune in for the next episode.